And, here was Chuck Schumer yesterday on the morning shows.
We drafted some of it already. The rest of it will be drafted this week. And so I am very, very optimistic that we will have an agreement among the 8 of us next week.
Chuck Schumer talking about immigration reform. So let it be written, so let it be done. Charles Schumer has said it's a done deal. They're going to write it, and therefore it will be the law. No stopping it now. John Fund from National Review joins us now. What's the deal, John Fund? Is it over? It's all over. Chuck Schumer says it's all over, so it's all over.
Well, Marco Rubio issued a statement saying, gee, I'm one of the gang of 8, and there has been no deal. I have to say, it's bad enough that we have 9 people sitting on the Supreme Court who basically decide the constitutionality of laws. But to have only 8 out of 100 senators draft legislation that's going to be crammed down the throat of the American people is a bit much. I think this thing is not going to hit the floor in May. These are the people who are predicting this are the same people who said gun control would be on the floor of the United States Senate by February. Last time I checked, we're already into April.
Yeah.
So I think we should all take a deep breath, and we need to have a real debate in this country because, I was born in Arizona, and what I'm hearing from my sources in the Border Patrol is they have more than enough money to try to enforce the border laws, but they're using the excuse of the sequester to basically allow more illegal aliens to cross the border than ever before.
Yeah, and John Fund, you have a lot of sources on Capitol Hill, I know, and I keep hearing the president and people in the Democratic Party talk about how we've waited long enough, we've had enough conversation, it's time to just get this bill done, let's push it through. And anytime I hear that, it always makes me sound like they don't really want the American people to know what's in this bill. Talk to me about the process here, because the process is going to be key to the public reaction if the people feel like this is getting forced on us.
Well, the same thing happened back in 2006, where they tried to force through a comprehensive immigration bill without enough debate. Pat Leahy, who's the chairmonster of the Senate Judiciary Committee, has already said, we don't need hearings. We've had hearings before. We'll just have a couple quick hearings, and then we'll get it to the Senate floor. Look, I'm in favor of an immigration bill. I think we do need a guest worker program. I think we do need to repair our legal immigration system. We need to repair our visa system. We need to make sure that we clear out the backlog of all the people applying for legal immigration. We need to have a system that makes sense. What we have now doesn't. But having a secret backroom deal, is just not a democracy. So let's not even pretend that it has anything to do with consulting the American people.
John, Dan Bongino here. Agree with you 100%. We can't have a government of cabals. And, one of the things in this prevailing wage agreement that seems to be happening between the unions and some of the commerce folks on the other side, this is a really big deal. Having a prevailing wage or a non-market wage apply to the private part of the economy, not necessarily public sector jobs, is a very big deal. Would you agree?
Well, we've had Davis-Bacon raise costs in the construction industry because we have to pay union wages for everything that has federal dollars in it for 90 years. It's been a disaster, and it's raised costs for everyone. Prevailing wage has also increased everything in the Washington, D.C. area, with the exception of those projects in Virginia where Virginia said we're not going to pay that. This is price gouging. We don't allow price gouging in a lot of areas of our economy. We shouldn't allow it with the unions controlling our immigration policy.
John Fund, can you please explain what this deal is? I thought I understood it, but I know that you probably know more about it. And just to be clear, Chuck Schumer and everybody's getting excited because the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and Richard Trumka at the AFL-CIO, they seem to have announced that they've reached some sort of agreement on what guest workers should be paid once this immigration reform is instituted. Why they're deciding these things rather than our legislators and our senators, I don't understand. But what is it they've agreed on?
How about the private economy deciding?
Right, that too.
I thought we had a free market system. Look, in the 1950s, Eisenhower did it right. Eisenhower had confronted a worse border problem than we did, and he did two things. He'd launched raids on employers if they had illegal aliens, and he published their names in the newspapers, and he told them, look, you keep doing this, you're going to get into trouble. Then he said, but we're going to give you a guest worker program that actually will work. It was called the Bracero program. It had some problems, basically because the Mexicans stole the wages of many of the people they sent over here, but If we had a modern-day Bracero program, we could solve our immigration problem. And we don't need a lot of government intervention. We just need a regular system so people can cross the border, they can cross back, and they don't have to necessarily go on an automatic path to citizenship. This is all about the automatic path to citizenship, which I call the automatic path to the voting booth.
Yeah, thanks, John. Listen, prevailing wage as well as discriminatory, as we've seen in Baltimore City, shuts out a lot of minority construction business owners as well. But
prevailing wages against minorities because they're the ones who aren't in the union.
Exactly. But moving on to the gun topic, they seem so confident at first using leveraging the crisis leveraging after Newtown, getting gun legislation passed, and you've seen that pretty much get stomped on right now, as you've seen, I think, swing state Democrats run for the hills. What's your take on that? Where do we stand? Is this thing going to die? And if it does, what do you think is going to come out of it?
Let's just say I see a pop gun emerging from the United States Senate, so to speak.
Just caught that. Sorry.
And look, as we all know, we need to enforce our gun laws. Right. And people who violate the current background checks aren't prosecuted. I'm tired of publicity-seeking politicians, trying to do stunts, which is we always need a new law. It's just like anything else in life. You only get headlines for something that's new. How about doing something that's old and tried and true, enforcing the law, and once you enforce the law, look around and see what else you need.
Well, John Fund, you're so good at looking at sort of the broader picture of where the country stands politically when certain laws like this are pushed and tried and failed. And I'm wondering, what does it say that coming out of, one must say, after Newtown in terms of the media coverage and in terms of the president's ability to draw on emotional concerns that Americans have, they had the best chance ever to push something like this through, and they had a democratically controlled Senate. The fact that if they get anything out of the Senate, it'll be a background check, and it probably will die in the House. What does that say about the political tides in the nation?
Well, there's been a lot of buyer's remorse since the election because the economy is still being propped up only by the Federal Reserve. Job creation is still stagnant, and I think let's just say this: the president may have a few clothes on, but he's getting down to his underwear. The emperor has very few clothes.
There is an image that we don't need. Thank you for that, though, John Fund. And I appreciate you joining us this morning, as always.
Thanks.
Thanks, John. John, are you talking about the president's underwear? I understand the allusion he was making to the emperor's new clothes. But,
he writes great pieces. His National Review stuff is priceless.
But he never writes about underwear as much as we'd like.
It's first time for everything.
John Fund from National